7 draft picks, 15 undrafted free agents, and I think we had about 12 trial guys. So, man, we had guys from like major Division I programs, some guys from 1AA. We had some guys from HBCUs. And I told those guys, it really doesn't matter like where you from, even what you did. The thing is, they all done a great job to get in the building. And once you get in the building, you have a shot. Once you get in the building, you have a shot. So I thought it was important for them to understand that. I thought it was important for them to understand the direction of what we're trying to do in this camp, that it wasn't a true physical camp. But there were 3 things I was trying to get out of those guys. What I want to know is, can they learn? 1. 2, are they coachable? And 3, can they play special teams? And I think a lot of those guys answered those questions. So that was my message to those guys, and I thought those guys did a really good job. So any questions? No questions?
Like the guys you signed in the offseason and the way you drafted some guys, that special teams is going to be a pretty big emphasis. Can you maybe elaborate on that?
Well, it is. My last 2 stops, and when I say that, I mean New Orleans and with Detroit, I really saw how special teams made a huge impact as far as wins and losses. And I'm not saying that the other teams I was with didn't pay attention to it, but, man, I really see the how they can really change an outcome of a game from being aggressive as far as fakes, and that's what we did in Detroit quite a bit, and having a dynamic returner that can create field position for you, and then understand the situational football when it comes to special teams, which I've learned quite a bit, in my last couple of years of coaching and really trying to study special teams. So it will always be an emphasis for us. And we have 2 really good coaches that's going to do a good job coaching that side.
How did it feel for you to just simply be out there coaching on the field? All offseason building your roster and actually getting the guy out there and coach these guys. How was that for you?
I might answer this a little different than where you might think I'm going to answer it, but it was different in the aspect of, and I say this when I talk to coordinators, I come from being a position coach when I'm having my guys, and I'm coaching my guys, and I'm focused really on those guys. And once I got the coordinator job, now I'm focusing on the masses of, I would say, 23 guys that's a part of the defense, and not just the defensive backs, which is different. And now my focus is on the whole team. So, man, but it's outstanding for me to get a chance to go to every position and be able to give my opinions on how they should do things and try to help those guys be successful. And that's the fun thing about coaching. That's the fun thing about my development as a coach, to be able to go with the quarterbacks and talk to those guys, the running backs, the D-line, the linebackers. So that was the change of being able to move around the field and be able to coach every position.
How do you feel the off-season program is going with veteran guys and stuff
Yeah.
like that, attendance-wise, and what you've been trying to get across to them?
Listen, outstanding. I think those guys have done a hell of a job of understanding what we're trying to create. I think we had over 90% in phase 1. And going into phase 2, we're up to about 94%. So I give those guys a lot of credit of understanding like what we're trying to create and just buying in to what we're selling. And when you get a new regime, that's the one thing you want to make sure you do. Just get the trust of the players. And I do believe with every part of me that these guys know exactly what we're trying to do. And the thing is, my verbiage has been very simple from the beginning. And as it goes to phase 3, the verbiage is going to change because we're doing things different. Because now we're really on the field. There's some competitive moments out there. And then exactly how I see the identity of the team going forward, because we're on the grass at that point.
What is it that you're trying to create?
Say it again?
What is it that you're trying to create?
Well, the first 2 phases, I was really focusing on strength and condition. I think I told you guys that early. And I did not want those guys really thinking much about scheme. I didn't want them thinking about Super Bowl, all that stuff. I just want you to think about strength and condition, and also how we're going to build this culture and how we're going to get the building environment the way we want to. And once you start to go into phase 3, now you start to look at, like, what is this identity of this team is going to look like? And don't ask me, because I'm not going to tell you. But I'm going to start verbalizing that to these guys. because we're on the grass and we're competing against each other. And I want those guys to know exactly who we are. And I think that's the best way to do it, to teach it in stages instead of putting everything on those guys. And they're buying in. They're completely buying in. I give a lot of credit to those guys. I'm happy with what they're doing.
Aaron, just to get back to what you're talking about, the transition to being a head coach.
Yeah.
Did you find that a little difficult at all? It seemed like you're like a layer removed. Did you miss having your hands on things? A couple of times I saw you, you had your hands on your knees, you were ready to take a rep.
I was probably tired. No, but that transition is always tough. I just talked about that before, from being a DB coach to a coordinator to head coach. But I give a lot of credit, man, to Dan Campbell of putting me in positions to be head coach, for the Lions on certain situations, and for him putting me in front of the rooms, for him asking my advice on how practice should go. So it was really a seamless transition for me to script practice. It was a seamless transition for me to be in front of the team. So all those things he's done, man, actually prepped me to be in this position. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
It's only they're running around in shorts with no pads, but a couple of your pass-catching guys with Mason and Arian Smith. Any instant takeaways from those two guys?
Listen, Aaron has some juice, don't he? God, he can run and he's bouncy, and he's a really good athlete. And I thought the first day he went out there and he was really focused on making sure that I see through the ball and make sure I could bring it in. I think he did a good job yesterday catching the ball. Mason is exactly who we thought he was. He has dynamic movements. He can really catch the ball. He did a good job catching the ball away from his body. He's quick to bring it in and get north and south, exactly like we want, which we call knifing. So listen, I'm happy with both of those men, and there's a clear vision of how we're going to utilize those guys, and I'm glad they're on our team.
Take a couple more.
AG, if I can go back to Dan, you talking about what he did for you.
Yeah.
Was he doing that for you? Was he doing that for the betterment of the Detroit Lions?
Yeah.
Was it some mixture of that? And how do you take that moving forward now as a head coach?
You know what? I do think it was a mixture. I think he, in the back of his mind, he was prepping me to be in this position. But also, I think he knew I had the ear of the team also, not just the defense, because I vibe with those guys on the offense quite a bit. And I think I've said this before. Every morning at 7:30, J-Mo was in my office, and we would sit there and talk. So I do agree with that. I think it was a little bit of both. Now that I actually look back and just think about the positions that he put me in. But again, like, I give him so much credit for making this a seamless transition for me to stand here and be the head coach of this team.
Can you speak about the way Mambu moves at 3:30?
I could easily say dancing bear, but everyone says that. But he's an agile, gifted, big man with measurables that everybody wants when it comes to offensive linemen, and he's only going to get better. He wants to work. He wants to be good. He wants to compete. He has all those traits that we look for when it comes to an O-lineman. He's nasty. I'm excited what he's going to do when you add him to the guys that we already have. So it's going to be a lot of competition, in that O-line, and those guys know it. And I've said this several times: elite athletes strive in those situations, and I do believe that he's going to step up to the plate and be one of the guys and actually strive, knowing that he's competing with everybody on the O-line to be the best that they can be.
Have you heard from Quincy or Quinnen Williams about their baby brother?
Well, I'm sure you guys are going to talk to him at some point, but I don't know if there's ever, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, had three brothers actually suit up for the same team in some capacity. And I just think it's outstanding that he has a Jet jersey on. And both of his brothers are actually here with us. So it's a beautiful story. He's working his butt off. And again, I'm sure you guys are going to talk to him.
With that one, through phase 1 and phase 2, what have you been able to take away with Justin Fields, just in terms of not throwing the ball, or
Yeah.
anything like that, just in terms of leadership and the way he interacts with his teammates?
There's a quiet confidence about that man that that's unshakable. And even though that he's not the most vocal person, he's active with his body language. He's active with his one-on-one conversations. If he has to stand in front of the guys and say something, he will. He will. He's not one of those guys going to talk just to talk, because sometimes if you do that, you know, players around you can get deadhead. But he says things when it needs to be said. He's a really good athlete. He works his butt off in the weight room. He's another guy that he's doing everything he can to improve. And whatever advantage he can get from coaching, strength and conditioning, being on the field, he's going to get that. He's going to take that advantage, and he's going to run with it. So I'm very happy where he's at. I'm very happy with actually all the quarterbacks that we have in this program right now. And I know they're going to push each other to be better.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.